wow.
Wiki wiki wow.
John Wick. Desperado. Yeah, so Dustin, it is August now. So it's been a bit. We booted this episode to beyond all of our other stuff that we have been talking about. So so it's been certainly long enough for me to say that everything we're going to talk about in this episode is a spoiler for the John Wick series.
Yes.
So we're talking about the series as a whole. We're talking about the fourth film. It came out earlier this year, but it's been available on home media for like a couple of months. So you've had a chance. If you haven't, go watch them. We'll probably give the series a recommendation as a whole, I would imagine. So cool. Go do that. All right, Dustin. So let's talk about John Wick.
Okay.
Step up on your ego. Come on.
The only way John Wick will ever have freedom and peace is in death.
Yeah, not really.
I'm not really here to review the film because you've already kind of reviewed it on our show. Again, this year. So we don't need to go through that again. But what we did not do is talk about details.
Spoilers.
Right. So I wanted to talk about it, and I kind of just wanted to sort of catch you up on my thoughts. So I rewatched all these movies over like the past week or whatever.
Okay.
And so I own 1 and 2 on digital. I had to go rent 3 and 4 on Blu-ray, and I'm very glad I did, to the point where I added the series as like something I want to own on physical media, which is a big deal for me to do. So I was rewatching the films and mostly just to kind of catch myself up. What do you know which one of these is your favorite one?
The fourth one.
You like the fourth one the most?
I do.
Why?
I feel like it has the most memorable set pieces. And I think I'm always drawn to stories that stories that complete the arc, stories that finish it out. And I think it stuck the landing, and I think it, was a solid ending to the John Wick character and storyline. I just think that it's, I don't know. I resonated with both the story and the filmmaking prowess on display here. And there are quite a few of those set pieces that are just kind of permanently branded in my brain in a way that the first 3 don't. I mean, they do, but not as many. Yeah. And so, this one just stuck with me a lot longer. Yeah. I think the third is my favorite one. Okay. But they're both they're both very strong, 3 and 4. I mean, I still like when one is always going to be like, the original, but like it has a lot smaller of a budget than the other movies. And so there's not as much spectacle. And so, of course, when the series goes where it goes, there's a whole lot more money on the screen. So, I can respect anyone who says John Wick is their favorite of the franchise. Sure. But that's one of those things where it's like, is that because it's the least, like the most like what you want, and the other, like, to me, it's almost like, do you like this series then? Because the other 3 films aren't really like the first movie. So I feel like anybody who says the first one's the best probably likes it the best because it's small. Different. Yeah, because they're like, that's what it should be. That's what it should have been. Yeah. And I think there's like a, especially among cinephiles, there's an idea of like, the indie, the underdog film, the thing that I knew about before anybody else, like that's the best thing. And then by the time the fourth one rolls around, it's like a household name. Everybody knows John Wick. There's a lot of money on screen. It's a corporate product. And, that first one you can look at and be like, no, that's a vision. Right. And, sure, I get it. I really do. Yeah. But for me, that first one now seems a little quaint, a little too quaint.
I think that they've avoided, thankfully, these becoming like a corporate product, because at least you've got the same director for all of them. Like all of these, I don't know if they have the same writers, but
yeah, I don't know.
But it's one of those things where it's like, it's kind of like a mini series. Like you've got Chad Stahelski directing it, and him and Keanu Reeves sort of just decide what the story is going to be. Yeah. And you've got writers, but like they're sort of it's not like writers submit a script to Chad Stahelski and he's like, oh, we'll make this the next John Wick film. Like they're he's very much involved and in charge of what the story is going to be. Yep. I didn't realize while watching the fourth film that was probably it. I didn't realize until the end. I was like, oh shit, he's dead. I was like, whoa. Because I had heard, them talking about spinoffs and crossovers and whatever else. We'll talk about that later. But like, so I watched it twice. Because I was just trying to kind of track everything. I still think I like the third the best. I think that the set pieces in the third are just, I mean, everything gets better. Keanu gets better as the movies go on. He gets better at his stunt choreography as the films go on. The set pieces get more elaborate and visual. The production design gets better each time. The cinematography gets better each time. Story gets better each time. And the music I think the music in this one was incredible. There was a whole lot of like vocal. I always love when they have like actual singers doing like chants. It just makes everything sound so much cooler and badass. Like while he's fighting the fat Russian guy. There's like a baritone bass, like choir chanting during that. Like there's like techno music and synthesizers, but there's like there's like a floor of human voices. And I was like, man, they really stepped it up, Yeah. And I was watching all the special features. They built that whole club with the water features. Like it's just, you forget that like, hey, like there's still people who like want to build sets, and it looks better on camera than ILM's, volume wall. It's crazy. Yeah,
for sure. And I think in terms of I want to highlight the cast of John Wick Chapter 4 because so obviously Keanu Reeves is great and Lawrence Fishburne is great and Lance Reddick is great and Ian McShane is great. But then you have like Clancy Brown comes in for a small part, and it's just like, I love that guy. Yeah. And then Bill Skarsgård, of course, Donnie Yen, Hiroyuki Sanada, and you're just like, oh yeah. You're just like, I love all of these people so much, and I just love watching all of them do their thing. And I had so much fun with this movie because, like, one of the things that sticks out is Donnie Yen's character, right? Yeah, this like Daredevil-esque guy who's like just like kicking butt all over the place. And his little gadgets are so fun and inventive. And man, I don't know. There's just so much to love here. I just felt like, they're pulling out all the stops for this last movie. Yeah, Donnie Yen probably has like the best batting average that I've seen in action films lately, where like his movement to age ratio, like Donnie Yen is 59 and he moves faster and quicker in this movie than I think anyone else, than Keanu, than Hiroyuki Sanada, anyone. And considering his age, it's like, that's impressive. Like the old, when actors can move quickly, it's like, oh, well, they're still pretty young, but then when they go slow, you're kind of like, well, they're 60 something, like that's to be expected. But Donnie Yen, I did Google his age. I was like, stop it. The stupid pod turned on. Hey, Google, how old is Donnie Yen? See, I told you I was 59
right.
years old.
So like, all right, go away now. So it was one of those things where I was like, okay, Donnie Yen's old, but like, is he younger than I think? Cause he's moving pretty well. And I was like 59.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was distracted by his character for a while, in terms of plausibility. Cause I was like, after a while, I just had to pretend like he could see, that he wasn't blind, so that I could just enjoy the action. Cause after a while I was like, okay, I get he can hear them, but like, come on.
Yeah.
So I sort of had to just say, all right, this guy's Daredevil. Like, we're kind of just going to ignore his limitations, and that's fine. And I had to sort of let go of like, he's already played a blind guy who fights in Rogue One, but then I was watching the special features, and even he was like, yeah, I have done this before. So we had to try to make it different.
Sure.
He mentioned it himself.
I guess I forgot he was blind in Rogue One.
Yeah. Wish I was blind in Rogue One. So I don't know, the story here, they did a good job of focusing it in the fourth one. It's more personal than the third. It did feel odd to me to scale down, because it did make the world feel somewhat small again. Sure. I felt like again, I think the action is still on point. I think I just enjoyed, maybe just because 2 and 3 felt more like wild to me. Like, whereas I don't know, 4, it's, I mean, I'm talking like a slight step down in like, in how enjoyable it was to me, at least how satisfying it was. And maybe it's just because the enemy, you have more and more armored enemies. And so it takes him longer to kill people. So maybe I'm just a monster who thinks he's not murdering people fast enough.
Sure.
So I love and hate the story. I hate that it slows the film down so much that most of the action sequences just feel like side quests to me. I couldn't escape that feeling on my first viewing, at least, of like, oh, okay, if you can do the duel, but to do the duel, you have to join a family. Well, to join a family, you have to go kill this guy. Well, to kill this guy, you got to do this card game. And then and I was just like, oh, for God's sake, my anxiety was going crazy. And it made Bill Skarsgård feel not that threatening to me, because he's so sidelined for so long. But it does bring closure to Wick's story, and that does matter. And that ultimately matters more to me than an uneven presence of action or threatening antagonist, because the story is small.
Right. Sure.
I did read that like an early cut of the film was really long, like almost 3 hours, like 3.5 hours long. And so I think that Chad Stahelski said we had to cut a lot of it down. And so there was a lot of story world stuff that got cut. And so I just wonder if more of that would have made the film feel bigger in scale, in a way that works for me, or if it would have been like an unwelcome. Let's see. Stahelski described an early cut of Chapter 4 as screwed, because the expanded world building of its title character and the introduction of new characters took 225 minutes of screen time. Yeah, I want to sort of talk. There's apparently, and sort of before, as I was preparing to talk to you about this, like Chris Duckman put a video out at some point that sort of touches on some of these points, that there's like public debate about whether John Wick is actually dead.
Yeah.
Apparently there's like the dog looking off screen at some point, and or, John saying like, please take me home. Like, where do you think he is now? Heaven or hell? Apparently, like, there's people who think that those are all signs that, like, he's alive.
Yeah.
Chris Duckman was like, the dog is probably just looking at its trainer. I wouldn't read into that shot very much. At all, actually.
Yeah, right.
It's more just the movie logic that, like, it's plausible to me that John Wick is alive, because we don't see him like gasp his last breath, or we don't see his face go soft or anything. Yeah. He collapses in a wide shot. Yeah. But considering all the work they did in this movie to conclude him, asking what his gravestone wanted to say. And, they do all this work
with his wife, all that kind of.
They do all this work to sort of emphasize like no one escapes the table. And people have been telling him that like in every movie, but even in the fourth movie, like the guy's like, no one escapes the high table. You don't, like, that's it. Like, and he talks to the Donnie Yen character, like, I think we're both damned. Like, and apparently I didn't watch this. Apparently there's a post-credit scene where the Donnie Yen character, like goes to get meet his daughter, but, Hiroyuki Sanada's daughter shows up. And the presumption is that, I mean, and I don't know, maybe she kills him. I doubt it, but
there's at least a fight.
The idea being like, this guy, they can just call him whenever they want and he has to help. Like he has to serve the high table. Yeah. So his life is forfeit too. So I don't know. I would say that I both prefer that John Wick is dead. And I just think there's more narrative evidence that he is than there would be that he's not dead.
I would agree. I think, for me, I do kind of hope he's dead. Like, to me, that makes the most sense. Yeah. I will say it is a little bit, I don't want to say like anticlimactic, but it's a little, I mean, it's thematically appropriate. It just may not be the most satisfying thing in the world that he earns his freedom and immediately dies. Yeah. It's like, man, that would be great if he was able to enjoy that. But the truth is he's not going to be able to enjoy it anyway because, his wife is dead and, he's alone. So, there's that. But for me, here's what I do know. I do know that a John Wick 5 has been announced. I do not know whether Keanu Reeves is in that.
Has it been?
Yes.
Oh boy. So one of the things I was going to say was I'm less interested in, the ending as I am in Lionsgate's interpretation of it, because Lionsgate, of course, is like looking at the box office returns and they're like, woo, hot damn. Yeah, we'll make a John Wick 5. And, I'm sure there's a lot of pressure from them to do it. Yeah. But if you're Chad Stahelski and Keanu Reeves and you're like, I don't know, we kind of intended this to be the last one. Like even again, in the making of, in the special features, Keanu is, they're talking like, it's crazy to think like, wow, this is the last one, like, so the people making it intended this to be the final film.
Yeah, it was definitely intended to be the final film. So I Googled it. Evidently, it has not officially been announced, but there have been talks about it.
Yeah, the Lionsgate CEO, confirmed a fifth film was being developed alongside Chapter 4, and that they would originally have been shot back to back, but they delayed that and decided just to do Chapter 4. Oh boy. Yeah.
Yeah. So here's from Empire Magazine, Empire Online, posted this 1 week ago. Chad Stahelski still doesn't know if there'll be a John Wick 5. And I'm looking to see if there's a quote in here.
I've got a quote here this is from the Hollywood Reporter. He had said, in our minds, Keanu and I are done for the moment. We're going to give John Wick a rest. I'm sure the studio has a plan. If everyone loves it and it goes kooky, then we'll take a quiet minute. Stahelski said that the reason he and Reeves abandoned plans for a sequel was his skepticism over his ability to deliver two uniquely special experiences. Lionsgate initially demurred at the duo's plan to retire Reeves' character, but eventually acquiesced. Despite Stahelski and Reeves' insistence on the fate of Wick, Lionsgate president Joe Drake later hinted at the possibility of a fifth film due to Chapter 4's unforeseen level of commercial success, while Stahelski stated he was open to a sequel. And then it says in May 2023, it was confirmed that Lionsgate was developing a fifth John Wick film, and that was confirms early development. And that was
this quote from
.com.
Got it. So this quote from a week ago was, again, this is from Chad Stahelski, says, now we've done the 4 and completed the circle, so to speak. I think it's pretty good closure for the series. And then there's the competitor or the real director in me who goes, F it, let's just see what we can do. It's very appealing. I just don't have the why yet, but that doesn't mean we should stop looking.
So I don't want them to do this.
Yes.
Because they're only considering it because what they're getting
of its success. Other than financial, what they're seeing is people love this franchise, and there's an urge in them to kind of probably please an audience who wants to see more. And let's be honest, if the studio's saying we want more, what you know as the director that probably means is we're going to make more with or without you.
Right.
So if you want to be a part of this, then you got to be a part of it. And if you don't, you're going to have to let it go. And I think after 4 movies, it's probably really hard to let it go.
Right. But then again, what that means at scale is eventually one of them will be bad, and it will only stop when it's not that good, when it's kind of sad, when it doesn't live up. And
this is the thing we've talked about a lot on the show recently. When do you end a franchise?
Right.
And the thing is, there's a very clear ending here.
Yes.
He can be dead, go out on a high note. The series is 4 really good movies.
Yeah.
Let it be done. And you can do your spinoffs. This is the same thing we encountered with Toy Story 3. It should have ended there. You can still do your short films. You can still do your TV specials. You can still do whatever. But it's a trilogy, and that's all it is. And same here. This is a quadrilogy. Do your spinoffs. I don't care. This quadrilogy exists as like an open and closed done deal that's really good.
Yeah. Yeah. They're still doing, they're doing that Continental series, they're doing the ballerina film. Like you're still doing stuff here, and you've still got the world that's happening. And if you focus enough on the Continental, you could have a situation similar to, I don't want to say like Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, but we've seen before where like spinoffs take on a life and success of their own. And people see them as great companion pieces.
Yep.
And then by the time, like I'm sure with the ending of Better Call Saul, no one's like going, hey, they should really, try and find a way to do a Breaking Bad sequel. Like obviously no, but everyone wants the thing they like to keep going. But at scale, what that means is that eventually it's going to diminish, and the quality won't be there.
Exactly.
And I like this series a lot. And I want them to go, you know what? We made our statement. We've made, for 10 years, we made really great, entertaining films. We pushed the medium. We pushed the genre. We did it. We brought in camera, practical stunts back. And we can be proud of that. And we should just move on to another property. And I really hate that a studio can just go, but we're just going to make more because good job. But guess what? Like we own you. Yeah. And what we know about Keanu Reeves is that if a studio says we're making this film with or without you, he will at least be in.
Yeah.
Because that's what happened with The Matrix.
Right.
Except the problem is The Matrix 4 is not a good movie.
Yeah.
And it doesn't ruin The Matrix for you, but it does go, God, like no matter what, you have to acknowledge it. And it's just sort of sad that it exists because, the studio was going to move ahead with it.
Right. Exactly. And I think, that's what sucks. It's almost like in Hollywood, you want to be successful, but not too successful. Because if you suck, then your career's over. And if you're too successful, then your career
never will end ever.
Right. Exactly. And you'll never get a chance to do anything different. Because I'm sure Chad Stahelski has other ideas for other things that are non-John Wick.
Yeah.
But like if I were this is me thinking like myself, if I were an executive, truth be told, if I'm an executive, I'm probably thinking differently. But if it were me and I'm in that executive boardroom and they're going, all right, guys, John Wick 5, I'm going, no, because we have our spinoffs. And if you're that desperate for John Wick material, you can always call it like the world of Wick, the Continental, the world of Wick, the ballerina, whatever it is, I don't care. Like just call it John Wick Saga, the ballerina, John Wick presents the ballerina. You can always work that in there if you want to. It's schlocky, but you can do it. But more importantly, I feel like I would be going to Chad Stahelski and say, what else you got? You did this for us once. Let's do it again. We're going to give you carte blanche. You do whatever you want. You bring us something similar to John Wick, but like you're a brand new thing. I don't even just bring us something. If it sucks, like, because here's the thing, I can always put in the trailers from the director, the visionary director of John Wick, and that's going to put butts in seats.
Yes.
And then if it still fails, then one, I don't have to do business with you anymore. Or two, I can bring you back in and say, you're making John Wick 5, get to work.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so that way I've placated you. I've given you a chance to deliver something else that's great, but like let the 4 stand and see what else they have up their sleeve. And you know, what this franchise did for Keanu, another franchise could do for another star like Keanu.
Yes.
And so give them that opportunity and tell Chad, just give us something, whatever else you got, give us something. We'll finance it. Go. And there you go. You kind of get the best of both worlds. You get something Wickish in your spinoffs, and you get something from the mind of John Wick, and it can be anything else in the world. Maybe it's a romantic comedy. I don't care. But when you get something from him, and then if it fails, roll him back into John Wick and call it a day.
Yeah, it says that Reeves and McShane are going to be in the ballerina film. Like they're going to, they're reprised because that film takes place between 2 and 4. Got it. Okay. I'm not sure how, because at the end of 3, he's very injured. And at the beginning of 4, he's basically just coming off his injury. Yeah. But hey, well, you know, whatever. You know, but the point is, like, we're already going to get John Wick in one more movie anyways. Sure. Just sort of as a fun, I don't know how much they're in it, but yeah. The point is, like, I wish that it was as easy as it should be to walk away from this kind of thing. Yeah. I hate the idea that a studio can just say, we're going to make another movie, and you can either be a part of it or you can not be a part of it. And it will not, and it will, to the detriment of the film, lacking your influence. But at the same point, like, do you want to like take a job thinking like, I don't want to be here. I'm only here to prevent this film from being bad and tarnishing the legacy of this thing I built. Yeah. And that's sad to me. That's not worth it. No. And the thing is, like, Keanu is not replaceable, right? Like, you can't throw somebody else into that and be like, friggin' Nicolas Cage is now John Wick. Right. You can't throw somebody else into it. It has to be Keanu Reeves. So they have no leverage with him. And so if he said, I won't do it without Chad Stahelski, then they're up a creek. And right. I feel like he would say that. Like, that's the only thing I could think of. It's just like, why would Keanu do it without Chad Stahelski? And I don't think he would. No. And I think if Chad said, look, I just don't have a why, like, I don't know why we would be doing this, then I think Keanu would say no. And then the studio would have no choice but to invest in other things. Now, could they? This is awful, but could they decide, you know what, without you guys, we're going to do John Wick prequel, and this is 18-year-old John Wick played by Timothy Chalamet, and we're that's not bad casting. It's not bad casting, and we're gonna let him do John Wick stuff. It's how he learns to be John Wick, and then, you know. Honestly, Timothy Chalamet is on fire right now, and they're already going to do that Continental show, and they're probably going to be looking for a young John Wick for that show. So hey, that's not a bad you know. But but if they decided to do that sort of thing, like, we're just going to make prequels without you, if at that point it's like, okay, good luck. Okay, guess what? The audience will never accept that. And if they turn out being good, that's great. But we're not going to do a janky 5th film to bring back John Wick and then have these end up like the Die Hard movies or, you know, whatever other franchise.
Can you imagine how terrible some of a prequel would be? Like, 'cause you just know it would have lines like this. Like in the final few scenes of the movie, somebody will say to young John Wick, "You should get a dog one day."
Yeah,
you know, and it's like, oh, come on. Or it'll be like, you know, he meets his future wife at a coffee shop, and it's like, oh, and you know, it's like, you know, it'll be something stupid like that. Or a young Lance Reddick will show up, you know, and it's like, okay.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I it's the gross part of making movies, is the idea that like, yeah, you got to ride a fine line, and these movies are so successful and they're so well done. But I really hope, I don't see Chad Stahelski as being the kind of guy who would say, I'm going to make a movie that I don't feel like making. Like there's no reason he has to do that. And I feel like he's the kind of guy who would say, I'm not going to do that. I feel like there are directors who would say that. I feel like even Steven Spielberg would say that. I feel like Steven Spielberg would and has made films that he's not interested in making just because, well, sure. Why not? Like, so it doesn't mean Chad Stahelski is the best director on the planet. It just means my read on him as a person is he won't do the movie if he doesn't want to do the movie. And the same for Keanu Reeves. And I'm sure Keanu Reeves too is just like, hey, look, like, I mean, how old is Keanu Reeves? It's like 55.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
Does that guy want to, hey, Google, how old is Keanu Reeves? All right. He's 58.
Okay.
So him and Donnie Yen are both up there. Like, that's fine. Like we can get new action icons, and this is perfect. This was a great second act for Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
But like, there's no reason, like there's a reason that like watching the Expendables movies to an extent was like fun, but also kind of strange at a certain point. Cause it's just like, these are a bunch of really old guys who I know can't do this anymore.
Hooper, I just had an idea.
Oh no.
Here's what I want Chad Stahelski to do next.
Okay.
What he did for Keanu Reeves' career, I want him to do for Shia LaBeouf.
Okay.
I want a Shia LaBeouf action movie in the style of John Wick.
Okay. See,
that's what I want.
And that's the thing. You could do other franchises in this exact same style.
Yeah.
Long, wide takes. The style isn't the franchise. The franchise is Keanu Reeves as John Wick. The franchise is the world of the Continental and the High Table.
Yeah.
I'm not even saying you can't do more High Table stories.
Sure.
You could do a spinoff where Shia LaBeouf is this assassin, and in a post John Wick world where the High Table is now like more vulnerable because of his actions. You've got someone like Shia LaBeouf who's just been waiting for an opportunity to
make a play for it.
Or to bring him down. And you could still play with that whole world you've set up without having to do anything with John Wick.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, the films as they went on, I use this word lightly because I don't really mean it fully, de-emphasized the significance of John Wick himself.
Yeah.
In the first film, John Wick is like, oh, he's clearly the best assassin in this syndicate.
Yeah.
By the time you get to the fourth one, you meet Donnie Yen, you're like, no, that guy might be the best one.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm sure there's others. Like there's
better than him.
There's plenty of people in these movies who almost killed John, and he only gets lucky. And I'm just like, okay, so, which is great for tension, but it also goes, like he's not invincible. There's plenty of other assassins who are great at this. And it's not like this world without John Wick ceases to exist.
Yeah.
Which we always say, like, you know, the world supports the protagonist.
Yep.
In this case, the world, I mean, clearly they're branching out and doing spinoffs. The world kind of surpasses the protagonist in a way. Yeah. John Wick's purpose narratively is to exist briefly within this world as he makes an ill-fated decision to get back into it.
Yeah.
That's ultimately what the films are about. He makes a choice. He made a choice. He chose a life that he couldn't escape from. Yeah. And then he manages to escape from it. Yeah. And then he experiences loss.
Yep.
Someone fucks with him, and he decides he's going to go back into that world to exact revenge. He made a poor choice, and because of those poor choices, he spends 4 movies, trying
fighting and clawing his way to freedom.
Right. And he knows that even if he reaches like freedom on paper, he does not know what he would do with that freedom. They go to great lengths to have the Frenchman say like, John Wick has nothing to fight for. He has no one to fight for. He has no goals. He has no one to protect. He has no one to save. So he has no will. He has his pure will, but even that will is like almost a stubbornness. It's not like Donnie Yen, who is fighting to protect his daughter.
For his daughter. Yeah.
So him winning the duel makes sense.
Yeah.
But he only is winning the duel though, because John doesn't want to kill him.
Yeah. Yeah.
John wants to kill the Frenchman.
Yep.
And he doesn't want that guy's daughter hurt.
Right.
It's a relatively new goal for him narratively. It's not like John Wick dies for reasons that are set up in the first film.
Right.
That's the only thing narratively that's shaky about this is like, okay, there's part of that closure that's a little unearned.
Sure.
But it is that John Wick ultimately dies for a purpose. He dies to, wound the high table.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still unclear about why beating the high table in a duel matters.
Sure.
So if they were going to do another film or even a continuation with a new character, the only thing I'd be interested in is, well, how much of an effect did that have? Because otherwise his death doesn't feel as meaningful.
Let me ask you this, just for funsies. Let's say they make a sequel film or something, and they feature the high table, and we get to see the high table, and we get to see whoever it is at the very tip top of this world. Who do you cast?
I was just off the top of my head. You cast like Anthony Hopkins and God, who else would be good? I don't know, just actors you don't see. Like I would put, it's really an opportunity. It's not necessarily people who would even fight.
Right.
That you'd have
maybe it's somebody who once did.
You have to have some people who you believe had a long history. Like you believe that Anthony Hopkins killed some people.
Sure.
I would believe that like a Johnny Depp, once had a career as like a cunning assassin.
Sure.
But then you have younger members who might still have it, so maybe that's where you put, people like, I don't know, like here's a terrible example, like Simu Liu, like that guy, like it people who can, that guy would be really great in these movies.
Yeah, I would.
But like, I don't know, you just, there's endless amounts of people you could cast. Really, you could put anyone at that table. And it would make sense. You could put, Loosely Lawless at the table. It makes sense, So
here's my pitch. Viggo Mortensen.
Okay.
That's who I'd put up there.
Yeah. Eastern Promises, Viggo Mortensen.
Eastern Promises, History of Violence.
Yeah.
Or John Noble. That'd be hilarious. That'd be awesome.
Which one is John Noble?
Denethor from Lord of the Rings.
He'd be great.
It'd be awesome.
He'd be great actually, because he's very sinister and there's plenty of people you could put up there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I really don't want them to do it. I want the creative team to just go, mystery. We're not doing it.
Yeah.
But I'd be fine if they wanted to, do Shia, a John Wick story,
Yeah.
Like I'm fine with that. I'm fine with them giving another actor an opportunity to franchise into this world.
Yeah.
As long as they're doing it anyway.
Sure.
I don't want John Wick to be any more films. I believe he should be dead and that should be it.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
Yeah.
Who'd be great too in a story like this is Christian Bale. Just because I love Christian Bale, but also I'm like, I don't want him to take on something like this though.
No.
But he'd be awesome.
There's so many actors that could that could step into this and be told like, listen, like if you can learn if you can be disciplined and you can do all the work, like this could be really great for you.
Yeah.
You know, so
who's more disciplined with physicality than Christian Bale?
Chris Hemsworth. I mean,
sure.
I mean, that guy. But you know, he's already got his own thing going on.
He's got his thing.
So he doesn't have to be him, but yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, man.
I don't know. I really like the John Wick movies. I think that they're a great series. I don't want to see a studio ruin them. So I probably won't wait for this decision to buy the films because I don't know. I doubt that I'll like a fifth one if they make it, but
right. Sure. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Okie dokie. Well, all right. That's it.
That's it.
Cool. All right, Dustin.
All right, Hooper.
Glad I got that off my chest.
There you go.
Yep.
Oh, this is a therapy session.
It's true. Okie dokie, everyone.
If you just went to your therapist and just talked about movies for an hour.